Hey everyone, welcome back to the American Justice Podcast, Q&A episode 4, episode 14, the Mike Etherington Part 2 episode.
Part 2,
episode 14. They're getting on up there.
Part 2.
Hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I know I was on the edge of my seat, and I wrote half the damn thing, and I was on the edge of my seat. Because, I mean, I'm not privy to it prior to when it comes out. I don't know what's going to be said in the final episode. It goes away. It does its thing. It comes back, and I listen to it just like all of you. So, yeah.
Are you saying that it goes away and then Scott does his magic?
Scott does his magic, and then it magically uploads. It uploads to all the different podcasting sites. And
I could imagine that would be a pretty cool, thing to, write something and then you turn around and it's produced, it's like I wrote that. That's got to be a cool feeling.
It's scary. It's scary. I've said it. I believe I've said it before on this podcast. I listened to one of my books done. It was done as an audiobook once. Scariest thing in my writing career so far. Just I hated it from that moment on.
I think we talked about one time that I wanted to do audiobooks at one point. So I'm just going to surprise you one year for Christmas. I'm just going to take one of your books and read it and turn it into an audiobook. And then,
that's how it's done. People read their own book, or they hire voice actors to read their book, and it's uploaded to Amazon just like anything else. Audible is owned by Amazon. All right, everyone, let's go to our first question here. Our first question comes from Faith in Trinidad, Colorado. They get the internet in Trinidad? Trinidad, Colorado is right there at the Colorado-New Mexico border, right there at Raton. I've traveled everywhere. It's in the middle of nowhere, small city in the middle of nowhere, Colorado. And I wasn't aware that the internet was a thing there.
Oh, apparently in 2020. It always amazes me that you remember all these little nuances of these different cities, because I've traveled. I'm not a extensive traveler like you, but let's say, for example, I've been to Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Right. It's nice, too, for what it is.
I have no idea where it's at. I know it's in New Mexico. I couldn't tell you if it's in the north part, the south part, the east, west, center.
It's right. It's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's right there off of Interstate 25 between Las Cruces and Santa Fe.
Okay. I'll trust you on that.
Right there, if I'm not mistaken, by Elephant Butte.
Elephant Butte.
It's a reservoir on the Rio Grande River.
Oh, okay.
That's a nice little oasis out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. But anyways, yeah, yes. You always know if it's a border town or if it's in the middle of nowhere.
When I was traveling with the art industry, I was constantly looking for another place to live, and I would judge cities by whether or not I could see myself living there.
Ah, okay. Well, did Trinidad, Colorado meet the...
No, sir. No, sir.
Gotta have internet.
No, sir, it did not. If I had to live anywhere in the state of Colorado, it would be not. Glenwood Springs.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say it would not be Trinidad.
It's Glenwood Springs, bottom of the mountain from Aspen. Basically all the help lives in Glenwood Springs. The real people live in Glenwood Springs. And that's where Doc Holliday is buried.
Oh, okay.
You can actually, and I've done this, and I regretted it once I got there, but once I could breathe again, it was fine. But yeah, Doc Holliday, the cemetery he's buried in is at the top of a mountain. The only way to get there is through a walking trail.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's a hell of a climb, let me tell you. And they don't know exactly where in the cemetery he's buried. He has a monument that has a little fence around it, and people go and they lay whiskey bottles on it and everything. But they don't know exactly where in that cemetery he's buried. So your guess would be as good as anyone else's.
Well, we're glad you have internet so you can listen to our podcast.
Do you think the investigators were more preoccupied with their own mistakes of taking Mike's information at face value rather than following up on his inconsistencies?
I don't know that Ranger Collins and the other investigators actually knew that they had bad information from Mike. That was kind of the thing that followed this investigation and the investigators. It was a pattern that happened that they didn't know that they had bad information. You're exactly right. They took it at face value, and they never really, as far as I know, other than this one time with the MySpace thing, they never really knew the bad information that they had. Again, with the phone records about Mike's phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning when he said he was at home at sleep at 12:30, that was not found out until after 6 months, when they finally got the phone records of everybody. Who knows if Ranger Collins even went back and noticed that call. It was never able to be brought up in trial because Mike wasn't called as a witness, which we'll get to when we get into the trial. But so that kind of stuff, it's not known really if the investigators really knew any of this bad stuff, because as we talked to Edie last week, they never bothered him talking to anybody that was, on Brandon's side,
right,
quote unquote. So, how would they know that the story about the cats is false if they never talked to anybody that actually knew the cats or knew where they were,
So you mean to tell me Mike Etherington, the finisher, Mike Etherington,
the finisher,
who was chomping at the bit to get to the sheriff's department to just release all this information into the universe, this information that he and only he was privy to, it was so important that he had to just call and bug and finally get his spot to come in there and lie to the investigators. You mean he didn't volunteer to go on to the stand?
Well,
but he's the finisher.
No, apparently they didn't need him to finish it, but we'll definitely get into Mike's involvement in the trial, even though he wasn't actually called as a witness. He was, by all accounts that I could research, he was actually there in the courthouse every day, chomping at the bit, waiting to be a witness, and things like that. And that's coming from Mike's own mouth. So we'll cover that during the trial. But yeah, there's definitely reasons that Mike was not called as a witness by the prosecution. And we'll get into that a little bit when we get into Susan Constantine's episode, because she talks a lot about that, or a little bit about it. She talks. I can understand why the prosecution didn't call him as a witness, because he would impeach himself all over the place. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So you can't. I mean, any prosecutor worth his weight in salt is not going to call somebody that they know can be impeached on pretty much everything that they said.
Wow.
I mean, it is what it is, right?
I've got to meet this guy.
Do you?
I do. I do have to meet this guy.
Well, I got his number. We'll call him up and see if he'll come on the...
Oh, no, I got to meet him.
He could sit right here, right in between us.
I got to meet you. I'm going to make him some Chad's Badass Chicken.
Oh, now that is an offer I don't know if he can refuse.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm about to buy a new truck, man. I might want some stuff done to it.
We haven't even gotten into that.
No, we haven't gotten into that. We haven't. But I mean, I'm sure a quick Google search by our listeners could tell them just about anything they wanted to know about anyone.
That's true.
Google's free and it's in your pocket, ladies and gentlemen. Use it.
That's true.
I
hope that answers Faith's question.
Yes. Faith, thank you very much for your question. I apologize for my ramblings on the city of Trinidad, Colorado.
Oh, I do want to say one last thing about this. I was just looking at the question. I noticed when she said that following up on his inconsistencies. It's true. And one of the things that I do give Ranger Collins accolades for was when Mike told him that, that what it said on the MySpace and everything. They actually finally were able to fumble through it and get on MySpace eventually, and that's when they saw that it did not say what Mike said that it said, and that was a key point, because what then ended up happening was Mike called back and told the investigator, say, look, it doesn't say what I said it said. It now has been changed, and it now says. Do you get along with your parents? Yes, I do all the time. Really, LOL, I love them, or something like that. And So he calls back and he goes, hey guys, just to give you a heads up, that thing that I just told you that it said, yeah, it doesn't say that anymore. It's actually been changed. And that's what Ranger Collins, if you'll go back to the arrest warrant, that's what Ranger Collins puts in the arrest affidavit is it says that Mike said that it said this, but then he called us back and said, hey, it hasn't been changed after we checked it out. Or it has been changed after we checked it out, but Mike says that it used to say that, and it's been changed. So that's the key issue, and that's why Ranger Collins gets so upset because he puts that into the arrest warrant, and then all of a sudden he realizes, well, wait a second, Mike never actually saw it. He's just telling me that it said that because so and so said it, or so and so said it, that type of thing. So that's why he gets upset. He's not upset that he put something false into the arrest affidavit. He's just mad that Mike kind of led him to believe that he knew or saw it, for himself when actually he never did see it.
Sounds like an REO Speedwagon song. Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who.
Oh wait! If we start
heard it from another, you've been stripping at clubs.
If we start singing on this podcast, we're gonna lose all of our listeners.
Oh yeah! Wait till I bring the guitar in.
Oh my!
I won't. I promise. All right. Thank you, Faith from Trinidad. we danced around that question for a very long time. So
yeah,
we're gonna take a quick break, and we will come back with our last two questions. Stay tuned.
Central Vapors is the premier online vape store that you've been looking for. If you are currently buying e-juice for e-cigs, you are more than likely spending way too much. You can save money by buying in bulk. No, we're not talking Sam's Club buy it by the gallon bulk. We're talking flavored e-juice in 120, 250, or 500 milliliter bottles. Think about it this way. 8 bottles of 30 milliliter e-juice would cost you anywhere from $100 to over $250. But at Central Vapors, a 250 milliliter bottle is only $28.95. And if you use the code AJARMY, you'll save 50% off your first 3 orders of bulk e-juice. Central Vapors is one of the largest independent retailers of e-cig supplies in the country. They provide all your vaping needs from e-juice to DIY supplies to pens and custom e-cigs. They even have CBD oil as well. With $2.99 shipping on all orders under $50 and free shipping over $50, you will not be disappointed. Customer satisfaction is always guaranteed. Head on over to centralvapors.com/AJARMY to claim your 50% discount on your first 3 orders of bulk e-juice today. You won't find a deal like that anywhere. Again, that's centralvapors.com/AJARMY.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the American Justice Podcast, episode 14 Q&A, Mr. Mike Etherington. We hope everybody's enjoying the episode so far and enjoying the audio episodes as well. I know they're very informative. Find out a little bit more each week, don't we?
And, we just put up, just to remind everybody, we just put up Mike's full interview on YouTube. So feel free to feel free to waste 2.5 hours of your life.
Right.
And go.
Hey, man, I feel the same thing about every time The Godfather comes on TV.
You can't turn it off.
I was like, there's another 2.5, 3, however long that movie is. I'm sorry. It's just one of those movies that I've tried to like over the years, and I can't. I can't like it.
I've only seen it one time.
That's all you need to see.
Long time ago, and but I liked it when I saw it.
It's no Star Wars. We'll put it that way.
It takes a lot for me to watch movies over and over because there's so many movies that I haven't seen.
Right.
That I feel like if I watch another one, the one that I've already seen over again, that that's time that I could be watching one that I haven't seen.
Let's get on to a question.
Well, let's get to a question.
This comes from Thomas in Garland, Texas. The movie Zombieland begins in Garland, Texas.
Does it really?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact line, but it's Zombieland, and the world's been through this zombie apocalypse, and the guy's like, "This is Garland, Texas," it's something along the lines. It looked like this before the apocalypse. So
the movie or the TV show King of the Hill,
right,
takes place in Arlen, Texas.
Arlen, right.
Which I believe the guy that started it,
think
Mike
so.
Judge, is from Garland.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but it's Arlen, Texas, not Garland.
It's such a great show. I heard that Mike Judge said that Beavis and Butthead is making they're doing like a reboot of Beavis and Butthead.
Ooh.
And I just skip that and go straight to King of the Hill. We need some more King of the Hill. Seriously, the world today needs some more King of the Hill.
Talk about wasting time in your life. How about watching Beavis and Butthead?
Oh man, I tried. I used to think that was funny. I used to think that show was funny
when you were 10.
Well, I was late teens, early 20s. I think it helped to visit the dispensary, so to speak. That's almost like bathroom code now.
So to speak.
I'll be right back.
You mean your friend
visit the dispensary?
You mean your friend John on the corner of?
But can you imagine Hank Hill like during the COVID-19
pandemic?
Well, let me tell you what, boy. Put your damn mask on.
Nice. I like it. I like it. What was one of his famous lines? It's already 6 a.m. and already that boy just ain't right.
That boy ain't right.
That boy ain't right. Oh, man.
All right,
Anyways,
Thomas, Garland, Texas.
From the land of Gar.
Has anyone reached out to either of you at all since this podcast began? Seems someone would, with so much information coming into the light from a new point of view.
Yes.
No one's reached out to me.
No one's, yeah, well. Yes, actually, we have had some people reach out that are asking and willing to help with certain areas of the investigation. As we'll get into later on, probably the last couple episodes of the podcast, Brandon's appeal status right now is basically everything is exhausted except for what they call a writ of habeas corpus or a writ of actual innocence. Which is where you actually go into court and say, look, I'm innocent. I didn't do this, and here's why. So that's the last thing that pretty much anybody can do. Once you've exhausted all of your appeals, that's always afforded to somebody with new evidence. So if somebody comes forward and confesses, or if somebody comes forward and gives information that proves that you didn't do it, you can always bring that writ to the court, and that's where Brandon is right now. So we've had several people reach out and offer assistance. We've had some people reach out and say, we always knew that so-and-so was a shady character, and here's some information on them. We've had some people reach out with other information. We just haven't had anyone, confess or or anything like that yet.
I did it.
But yes, you're exactly right, Thomas. There's a lot of information coming to light that has been buried. Nobody's seen Mike's interview before now, except for people that are investigating the case or close to the case. So the fact that this type of information is getting out to the general public, I feel like it's just going to bring more and more spotlight on the case, number one. Number two, it's going to bring a little more scrutiny to the case.
All right. Thomas from
hopefully.
Garland, Texas. Hope the answer was sufficient.
Thank you, Thomas.
To your liking, sir.
And let me just say, some of the information that we've been getting, some of these people are not going to be happy. Mike, Charla, Linda, Kathy, there's some stuff. I can't say what it is, but it's just interesting that it takes this long. What are we? Almost 15 years after the crime, that for people to come forward with information that they knew all along.
All right. Last question comes from Janet. Damn it, Janet.
Yes, one of my favorite films of all time.
From Portland, Oregon. Now, I have nothing but nice stuff to say about Portland, Oregon. One thing.
Uh-oh.
Did not like about Portland, Oregon. I happened to be there during the Festival of the Roses, which was amazing. They have a nude bicycle race on Friday night.
That sounds
It's
amazing.
like everybody in downtown Portland is butt naked riding bicycles.
Nice.
Then they have a big parade through the downtown area on the Saturday night, and all the bars have tables outside, and everybody is basically just drunk and stumbling. And then the cops come along when it's all over with fire hoses and chase everybody back indoors.
Nice.
But I went to the Jack London bar.
Okay.
Not on purpose, but Jack London,
Yeah.
White Fang, Call of the Wild.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a writer.
Very famous author.
Writer thing.
Even
but-
I know who Jack London is.
Right. So it said Jack London bar down a stairway. It was a bar inside of another bar. And being the writer that I am, I absolutely had to go in there.
Is he from there, I'm assuming?
I'm not
or is
sure.
just someone that's a fan? That's
I mean, Pacific Northwesty kind of, you know, he was that kind of thing. There's a possibility he was from Portland. I'd have to look him up. They wouldn't let me in the bar because I didn't have a coat and tie.
Oh.
It was that kind of thing.
Oh.
And I'm like, writer.
Did they? Yeah.
You know?
You're like, hello, I'm part of the group.
Nope, wouldn't let me. Other than that, I got nothing but nice things to say about Portland.
You know, I hear that. I hear that about all of the Pacific Northwest.
Very
It's
much so.
Very beautiful. Everybody's really nice.
Very much so. From Redding, California, up I-5 all the way to Seattle to Canada. It is the most gorgeous part of this country.
Canada, eh?
Yeah. Go up there and watch some Akio.
You know, I went to Canada last year. Last year?
Really?
Or a year before last year. I think it was last year.
Well, they won't let us in now.
Yeah, no. I know it's been so long, this COVID thing, that I'm just like, was that last year or was that 10 years ago? I don't remember.
Canadians shut the border on us today, I think.
Did they?
I think I read that
I
somewhere.
wouldn't be surprised.
They're like, Okay. Janet's question.
Wait a second. So Rocky Horror Picture Show, didn't that take place in Denton?
Not Denton, Texas.
Oh.
It's like a I guess I made up Denton. It's not, but I used to think that when I was a kid too, and I'd see it, and I'm like, Denton.
It's Denton.
It's totally Denton. We're gonna run with it.
I don't care what Tim Curry says.
Okay.
You're like, don't disparage Tim Curry, buddy.
Oh, damn it. All right, Janet. Janet asks, was the computer really missing? How did the investigators not know about this, but a nobody former friend and his mother did? Did this ever come up in the trial?
Well, I'll just say this. What computer?
The magic computer.
The magic computer.
The computer on the grassy knoll.
It's like, did they ever know the computer was missing? What computer are you talking about? Nobody knew that there was a computer missing. Nobody knew that there was even a computer that was in question. This was one of the biggest things. If you haven't listened to the episode and you just happen to stumble upon the Q&A episode first, I would definitely suggest that you go back and listen to the actual episode, because I get a little animated talking about this.
Yes,
because
yes, you do.
This is the one thing that, like I said in the episode, that, you know, a lot of the stuff that Mike says, he immediately goes back and retracts. And, you know, one of the things that sticks out is so funny that he'd say something like, you know, Brandon was really a hothead. And then immediately he'd go like, well, I mean, he wasn't really a hothead. He was more, you know, it's like he does that all the time throughout the interview. It's like, here's information. And then he thinks about it, and then he's like, well, let me rephrase that.
I mean,
you know,
he did have a head, and sometimes it was hot.
right, exactly. But this was the one thing that should have stood out in Ranger Collins's mind, that this, you know, it's not like he was in the middle of another answer. Like it was a moment of silence, and Ranger Collins just trying to compose himself, and all of a sudden Mike's like, well, the trickiest thing now is that the computer's missing. His computer's missing. And it's like, Ranger Collins actually says, oh, what? How do you know there's a computer missing? And, you know, of course he starts stumbling all over himself. But, you know, I just don't understand how Ranger Collins didn't just think to himself at this point, wait, how does this guy know that there's a computer missing? What computer is missing? Who said anything? You know, like, Why did that not warrant further investigation? I realize you just arrested your key suspect yesterday, but still, it just seems like when there's information that comes out that needs to be investigated and doesn't make sense, that you should investigate it no matter how long you've had somebody in jail. So that was the one thing that that really stuck out to me as, Mike really stuck his foot in his mouth at that point. But what was the other part? Investigators know about this.
Well, if the computer, if the missing computer ever came up in the trial, and I guess since it never made that information never made it out of that office, no.
Well, I think it was one of those things where it was just missed. You know what I mean? Like the defense attorneys were overwhelmed. They were court appointed, so their funds were limited. It wasn't like this was an O.J. Simpson dream team, that they had unlimited time, unlimited resources. But so I think it was just one of those things that was buried deep in one of a dozen or more interviews that were recorded that they had to go over and dissect minute by minute, second by second. So I think it was just missed. I think that if the defense attorneys or the investigator would have caught this in the beginning, I feel like there would have been a way to get it in. But as we've discussed before, you can't call somebody as a witness just to prove them a liar, just to impeach them. You can't just... we call Mike Etherington, and then he gets up on the stand, and they're like, "You're a liar." It's like,
objection, overruled. He's over there just talking to himself on the stand.
But yeah, you have to have a reason for calling a witness. So let's say, for example, Mike said during the interview, and this is obviously an extreme, but let's just say that he said, I was really the one that killed Dennis and Norma. Then obviously, and the investigators ignored it, then obviously they'd be able to call Mike to, ask him about exculpatory statements that show that Brandon's not guilty. Absence that, you can't call him as a witness because it's a whole legal thing, but basically you can't call him just to say that he's lying about all these other things. Now, if he's lying about your witness and you can prove that he's lying and whatever, then or your defendant, then that's one thing. But they weren't able to call him. But I do feel like this statement right here was the one statement in the whole interview that should have given the defense attorneys reason to be able to call him, because he's making what I consider an exculpatory statement towards your defendant. He's showing knowledge of a crime scene that no one else on the earth, except for the killers, would know. So why would you not be able to call him? So that was just my opinion. I don't know if, obviously I'm not a defense attorney. I don't purport to be one. If there are any defense attorneys out there and you can prove me wrong or prove me right, either way, let us know in the comments, and we'd be happy to engage with you.
What I was thinking the other day is I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of 2005 and exactly how important the computer was in 2005. Now, if it was 2020, it'd be one of the first things they'd grab because it has your entire life on it. Yeah. But in 2005, we're talking most people still had dial-up internet. Some people had upgraded to DSL, which is totally obsolete now. Right. So, but a lot of people, especially out in the middle of nowhere, Royce City, Heath, Rockwall, they were still dealing with really slow dial-up DSL. I mean, these investigators, the Texas Rangers, they still didn't even know at the time what MySpace was or how to manipulate it. And MySpace had already been out for a year, possibly year and a half, I believe.
Right.
They knew absolutely nothing about it. So I don't think that they realized how important the computer was. I mean, I can imagine Collins just going, "What do you mean that their thing has got the clicky buttons on it? You use it to play solitaire?" I don't think they knew.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna respectfully disagree, because there were a couple computers at the crime scene that they did actually get. There was Norma's laptop. There was a desktop computer. There was another desktop computer. But you also got to remember that Dennis was a techie guy. Like
Oh,
he was,
yeah,
you
that's
know.
right.
So they each had laptops. They were a computer household, and so it's the investigators, kind of along the lines of what you were saying, I think, thought to themselves, okay, well, there's one computer for him and one computer for her. So that's all the computers. And they didn't even put any second thoughts into it. But it wasn't until the day after you arrest your suspect that one of his ex-friends comes in and says, hey, now there's a computer missing from this crime scene. And, you know, it just, I don't think they realized how big of a statement that was, because the computers that were there, they were able to like forensically analyze them. And we actually, I actually took one of the hard drives and had it forensically analyzed as well to see about if there was any information like internet usage and stuff like that maybe the other investigators missed, because the defense never did that. So, and that's, you know, all part of the investigation that is going on to get the writ of actual innocence.
Now, this computer that I mean, I'm asking more questions than our listeners. The computer that Mike is claiming went missing. This is Brandon's computer.
Well, we don't know.
Just a computer.
Right.
From the crime scene.
I mean,
because you figure if it was Brandon's computer, it'd be with him in college.
Well, Brandon didn't have a computer in college. All he had was his cell phone. But you know, I don't know. It could be Brandon's computer that was still at the house. It could be, I mean, who knows whose computer it was? I think that's part of what confused the investigators, is they didn't realize that, wait a second, there could be an extra computer here. Like, and that's one of the things that's always kind of drove me crazy about this investigation as well. They automatically assumed that it was not a break-in, or not a break-in, but a robbery or whatever gone bad, because of the fact that there wasn't anything missing, because there was Brandon's mom's wedding ring. I believe their wallet was still there. You know, so they look around, they're like, okay, well, there's a couple things of value that are here. How the hell do you know that there wasn't something else of value? Maybe there was something that was really heavy that they're like, oh, well, if we're going to get anything, we're going to get that, even if we leave everything else. You know what I mean? Like, how do you know that something's missing unless you know something's missing? That doesn't make any sense. You know, what if there was a pile of 24 karat gold sitting in the corner and now it's missing, but you don't know that it was ever there. You know what I mean? So, so that's kind of what I think happened here, is they didn't know that there was a computer missing until Brandon's ex-friend comes in and says, hey guys, there's a computer missing. And
well, I don't mean that it's missing. I mean, I know where it is. It's in my trunk, but that computer is missing.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Who knows how many computers Dennis actually had, and who knows how many were actually missing, but we know that Mike knows that there was one missing.
All right, Janet from Portland, thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Janet.
So we're coming up on episode 15 now.
15. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What are we going to do in 15?
Well, yeah, that's what I was asking you. What's coming up in episode 15?
Oh, I was hoping you were going to tell us.
Isn't that Charla's? That's Charla.
I guess that's kind of my job, isn't it?
Charla Woodruff. What? I don't know. What's her last name, Dad? Do you know her last name?
She who shall not be named.
She who shall not be named. Charla Woodruff hyphen McGillicuddy Smith. Smith. This is her second interview, I believe.
Yes. So this is going to be covering the second time that Charla sits down with the investigators to talk about Brandon. We'll put it, give information about Brandon, and as we'll see, this demeanor and this whole point of view is a lot different than the first.
Oh, she's a doll.
So I wonder what the biggest question that we're going to try to answer, there's no guarantees, but we're going to try, is what changed between Sunday and Wednesday that completely changed her point of view for this brother that she has?
Oh no, I've got a few thoughts.
Hopefully we'll be able to answer
Yeah.
them in the episode.
Yeah, I've got a few thoughts, Charlie. Call me, girl. You know what's up.
I've got a few thoughts too, but I think they're probably different.
Probably are.
Anyways, so we'll cover that. And then the one that I'm really excited about is Susan Constantine's episode. That's gonna be
Heck yeah.
That's gonna be amazing. She was so thorough and just gave us so much information that you guys are not gonna want to miss that. You're not gonna want to miss Charla's episode either. The second interview is definitely a lot more fireworks than the first interview, but yeah, when we get to Susan,
All right, so yeah, episode 15 is going to be Charla's second interview.
one of the things in the next in Charla's second interview that she talks about is that she is not going to, let's just say she says that if Brandon is convicted and ever let out of prison, which, I don't know if she means if he's let out in actual innocence or if he's let out because, he serves a 20-year sentence for killing both of his parents and they just release him back to the public. But either way, if he's ever let out, that she's going to move out of the country.
Well then,
So I just want to know, is that a promise?
yeah.
Is that something we can hold her to?
Which country would you choose? Charla, feel free to call us and let us know which country you would choose. The number here is
972
keep going, baby, because I don't know it.
942.
0444.
Yes.
Holy.
Very good.
Wow. Yes, call us and let us know what country you plan on moving to.
That's right. And everybody, leave us a voicemail. We want to see some voicemail. It's nice that people are writing questions and comments on YouTube and Facebook and all of the other platforms, but we want to hear your voice. We want to hear the inflection in your question or your comment.
Yeah, that would be great. And don't forget when you leave that message to give us permission to use your voice on the show. Otherwise, we can't.
Otherwise, we do it without your permission, one or the other.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Sue us? Spank us? Take away our birthday? Cancel my TV privileges?
Uh-oh.
Can't do that.
Can't do that
I don't
these
watch
days.
TV. Ha-ha. Take that.
Got that. All right. So until next time, what should we tell people?
We should tell them to
Stay aware. Stay strong.
and get involved.